I want to understand how did you go from being a kid in Belgium to now being a legendary entrepreneur across the world. You are one of those brands which have generated exponential output merely through YouTube.
Yeah.
And that makes you one of the most successful brands on YouTube. And the beauty is you're not even from India.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Odoo founder Fabien Pinckaers.
Meet Odoo, the best open source website builder.
Odoo strives to provide a singular, integrated solution for businesses.
Odoo has all the features you need to develop your business online.
Why do you believe in the growth story of India so much?
1/5 of the population speak English, open, fast growth, entrepreneur mindset. Do you know any other country?
What is your approach towards social media marketing and how do you view YouTube and Instagram as marketing platforms?
I don't have budget.
Okay.
So the team is free to do whatever they want. They just should do high quality content.
But how is it that you are able to build a company which is so affordable in terms of its subscription as compared to a large company like Zoho, which is 3 times costlier?
Basically, 80% of the job of quotation, sale order, invoice, bank statement, follow-ups so that the customer pays you, 80% could be automated.
80%? Good morning, Fabien. How are you?
I'm good. Very happy to be here.
You know, I'm very excited to talk to you because you are not just a guest, but you've been a wonderful partner for us because you've been sponsoring our content for the past 8 months. I don't know if you know that.
I know, because you just told me one hour ago.
Yeah, because I've been speaking to Faisal. In fact, Pash has been speaking to Faisal for such a long time. And we've had a blast collaborating with you. And I'll tell you why. You guys never put restrictions on us. You guys do not have unnecessary expectations or unrealistic expectations. And more importantly, you work with us as partners. And that is something that is very beautiful because most brands in the influencer marketing space are very transactional. But then you are not at all transactional. In spite of you guys having an expertise in that, you guys are not transactional at all, which is what I absolutely love about you. So thank you so much for supporting our content for such a long time. And guys, you've been watching some great videos because Odoo has been supporting us. So thanks a lot, man.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, this is the way I see the business. It has to be partnership. And I mean, who am I to think that we know better your job than you? So it's better than we let you do. And we know that if the content is good, it's going to be good for us.
Wonderful. Fabien, I want to know how you came to India because we were just having this conversation about your struggles in India. I want to understand how did you go from being a kid in Belgium to now being a legendary entrepreneur across the world and being located in India in Gandhinagar. It's pretty strange, like nothing really adds up. So tell me about your story.
So actually, India is the first company I launched, first subsidiary I launched. It was 17 years ago. And the company grew quite well, but it stuck around 200 employees for a few years. And so I came here to help the team grow faster because it's not normal. Usually at Odoo, companies go way much faster and become big and so on. And India's potential is so big. I mean, it's close to 1/5 of the world population, huge middle class, fast growth of the GDP, 8% per year. The potential is great. It's open. It's in English. That we couldn't miss the opportunity. So I said, okay, it's worth for me to relocate myself and the family to come here.
And your family too?
Yes, with the kids and wife.
Why do you believe in the growth story of India so much?
I mean, do you know any better country than that? 1/5 of the population, speak English, open, fast growth, entrepreneur mindset. Do you know any other country?
No, I'll be biased because I love my country too much.
I know it too.
Wonderful. So what's your story like? Where did you start and how did you enter the space? Because I was just studying the space and it turns out to be a very, very competitive space. You've got Zoho, you've got SAP, you've got Microsoft, and then you have Odoo. So, and recently your name has started to come up more often in India. So my question is, how did you start? Like, where does the story of Odoo start?
So I started as a solo entrepreneur and I did a lot of things. And I've always been passionate about development. I'm a developer, a computer engineer, and enterprise management. That's the two things I like. And doing Odoo was kind of putting my two passions together.
Okay.
And I remember a blog from Paul Graham, Y Combinator. He said, if you want to do something big in business, if you want to have an impact, you have to fix a very complex problem. I was like, oh, enterprise management seems complex between inventory, accounting, website marketing, human resource. There's so much to do that it's the kind of problem where I will have fun for a few decades.
Which year was this?
It was 20 years ago.
12 years ago.
I started the company 20 years ago. I launched the Indian subsidiary 17 years ago. And I relocated to India 18 months.
Okay, so let's have this timeline straight. Can you give me by year as to when did you start the company? 2004, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Then you launched in India 17 years ago.
Yes, so 2007 or something, yes.
Okay. Cool. And you relocated to India about?
18 months ago.
18 months ago, which would be 2022?
2.
Okay. So in 2004, I don't know if Zoho was too big, but then SAP was very, very big.
Yes.
So my question is, when there was already an SAP, why did you think the world needed an Odoo?
No, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't think that way. You're not thinking about how can I compete. You just think about, and that's the way I did, do a good product. I want to serve client, have a great product, make something useful, fix all the problems. You know, when you see how small and mid-sized company work, you see problems everywhere. They spend time, they do administrative work, they record data in a system. So many time wasted, and people suffer from that. So my driver has always been, I want to help them. I want to do something useful. I want to have a better way to build websites, to do your accounting, to do inventory management. And that has always been my only driver. I always thought that we don't have competitors. So if you look at the market, there are obviously plenty of enterprise software, but none of them is simple. None of them has all the feature an SME need. Most of them are not affordable for small companies. And the ones that are affordable, they just do one thing, like MailChimp to send email or Tally for your accounting. But just one thing. They don't cover all your business needs, so you have a mess of integrating them together. So for me, it was more about cracking a market in a way that doing something that nobody succeeded to do, which is make enterprise management software affordable and simple for SMEs.
So if you look at enterprise management, it's a very complex problem, like you mentioned. So you first need to understand the problem to be able to solve it. So my question is, what is that one story in your life that gave you a clear direction that this is a problem that I would want to solve?
The way I work is I sit next to the users.
Next to the users?
Yes,
okay.
And I check how they work. I check next to an employee how he works and where he's wasting time. Take an example. If you sit next to a recruiter in HR, you will see that 50% of their email is about scheduling meeting. Are you available for first interview, second interview? The manager is not available. We have to reschedule. 50% of the email scheduling meeting. I mean, what a boring job. Yeah. Nobody wants to do that. And there is solution to that. You can send a link and they can schedule directly in managers' calendars and they can reschedule themselves. So there is a way to fix that. And for a lot of jobs, it's the same. Take an accountant. An accountant, in the morning, he gets all the vendor bills to record, and the whole day, he records bills in a system. I mean, it's a shitty job. Their time can be used to better optimize the company, handle taxes, and things like that. So when you see how they work, you are like, oh yeah, there is something to do to make the job more interesting and less manual.
Wow, this is so interesting. So your company actually was built on the basis of observation.
On the end user, one of the key things we did early on was to say management software is not for managers. What's the key in management software? What we want to do with Odoo is to make every employee more efficient. We want to be a productivity software for the accountant, for the worker, for the cashier, for the project manager, managers too. They can also have the dashboard. But we want every employee of the company become better. And if you do that, then the company gets way more efficient.
So Fabien, can you tell me more instances of how an employee wastes time? Because I'm just trying to understand every single product that Odoo has to offer and the reasoning behind those products. Like, which are your top 2 or 3 best products and how do they fix the efficiency in a particular organization? Because when you mentioned meetings, my inbox literally looks like that. I'm sure Par's inbox is 90% just scheduling of meetings. And these are such important pain points that a lot of us are not really aware if there are even products to solve these problems, right? And, I was actually watching a TED talk by one of the designers at Apple. His name is Tony Fadell. He's one of the ex-designers of Apple. And he mentioned something very, very important. Do you know how the Viper was invented?
No.
So he speaks about something called stepping out of habituation. And what he says is, great inventions are designed because the designers often understand how to step out of habituation. An example of the same is back then it is so strange that cars did not have wipers at all. In spite of all the snow, in spite of all the rain, in spite of all the mud, cars did not have wipers at all. But then there was a woman who faced this problem and she decided to fix it in such a way that she said, oh, you know what, let me just go outside and wipe it. And she thought if I could do it, I could automate this process, right? And that's how the wiper was invented. So if you think back, today having a car without a wiper seems like a very stupid idea. But back then, it is so counterintuitive to think that that is how the world functioned. It was the norm. So this stepping out of habituation is something that I find deeply interesting. So tell me something. I need more instances in your entrepreneurship journey because I often keep insisting on the power of observation. A lot of people often ask me, how do we do market research? And I often tell them that the best market research often stems from great observation. So can you walk me through that journey about which is the first one that you discovered and how did you capitalize on it to build Odoo?
Yeah, and I completely agree with you because if most of the managers, they are not even aware that what they do is totally inefficient. I mean, you receive a contract to sign on paper. You do that every day. And then you ask someone to scan it, to send by email. Nobody thought about, it should be electronic signature. And they just live with their habit. And you're talking about marketing. As a marketing point of view, it's very hard for us because we have to explain to the client that there is a better way to work, but they don't know it. So it's a lot about education and showing them what's going wrong. It's not normal to have people who scan contracts, sign on papers, where it's just a click when it's electronic signature. And a lot of use cases like that, you have to see it. And once you see it, it's obvious. I mean, why do I print everything and sign everything manually?
Interesting. So which is the first problem that you solved?
No, the first one, I started with a very niche market, auction houses. So antique dealers selling old stuff. And it was mostly about the operations, inventory management. Their inventory management was totally inefficient. When they receive the product, up to the delivery of the client, they move the product 7 times in the warehouse. And if it's well organized, if you have a good management software, you can do it in 4 times. But if you move the product only 4 times from the reception to delivery instead of 7, it's like close to 50% productivity win.
Interesting. So you discovered that problem, you solved for it by building a software for it.
And then, yes, exactly. And then we did more and more and more. And the more we moved forward, the more we worked with clients with this habit of having a look at how the user works, sitting next to them, watching them waste time on things that you say, I could automate that. And then you do that. You iterate for years and years and you get something good at the end.
Very interesting. How long did it take for you to build this software?
So I started alone 20 years ago. It grew 50 plus % per year. And we are today 4,500 employees. But it seems big. But when you look at it, we didn't do a big growth. It was 50% growth per year, every year after year for 20 years.
50% growth is not a small thing.
Even today, 4,000 plus employees. It means that within the next 12 months, we'll recruit 2,000 extra.
Very interesting. While my team was doing research about your company, we found a very interesting anecdote which said that there was a B2B company that started using Odoo and their revenue shot up by 400%. How is that?
I don't know about this company specifically, but sometimes So we talked about how you can avoid wasting time, automating things, but there is also a lot of revenue that they miss. Like services company, the most common way, they forget to reinvoice expenses. They travel, they go to restaurant, they don't reinvoice expense to the client because they are not well organized. If you don't have just picture on your smartphone, go in the accounting, reinvoice, that's easy. If you don't have that, you miss revenue. Because every customer accepts to pay for the expense to travel and everything. It's just that you have to be organized to reinvoice effectively. When I was young, I hate administrative. That's really something I don't like. I like to build products, I like to develop, but I'm not an administrative guy. And when we started the company, we were 3-4 employees. I hated to do the follow-up. And I even hated to do my invoice. Felt like a waste of time for me. And I lost so much money because of that. Customer, I forget to invoice. I didn't do follow-up because it was manual and I didn't like to do stuff like that. That if I had to do at that time, I would probably have saved a lot of money.
Same here, man. Even I hate doing it. And that is the reason why Parsh is there to save me Because if he hadn't been there, I wouldn't even have filed for taxes because it's such a boring thing, right? And all of these things actually reminds me that every time boredom steps in, every time in a business you feel like there's a hurdle which is actually costing you money, that's actually an opportunity to build a product, right?
Yeah, because nowadays all the things are fully automated. If you use Odoo, you can connect to your bank. So all the statements are synchronized every 4 hours automatically. The follow-ups by email or even by letter, we post the letter for you, fully automated. You don't have to do. The invoicing, they are half automated. You still have to tell what you did, but you can save a lot of time from the sale order to the invoice and so on. So basically 80% of the job of quotation, sale order, invoice, bank statement, follow-ups so that the customer pays you, 80% could be automated.
80%.
Yeah. No need to record the bank statement. No need to reconcile. Vendor bill, we scan them. With the artificial intelligence, we recognize 98% automatically. So you save a lot of time.
All of that is done through Odoo.
Yeah, of
Wow,
course.
that is very interesting, man. You mentioned that when it comes to small businesses, big softwares do not cater to small businesses. What does that mean?
The thing with small businesses is that they are still complex. I mean, even a small company, they have a marketing department, a small one. They have sales, they have inventory, sometimes they have manufacturing. They work with different countries, different language, even if you are a 20 people company. So they are complex, but they don't have money. They don't have the budget to afford a very complex software. And even if they have the money, they don't want the complexity. They don't want something where you have to record data in a system. It's a waste of time for them. So the complexity for the small and mid-sized companies is that they have a lot of needs, but you have to do it extremely affordable. And that's something nobody succeeded to do. On the market, you have two types of players. The big ERP players like SAP, Oracle, NetSuite, Microsoft Dynamics. They do a lot of things, but they are super complex. So SAP doesn't want it because it's too complex, too rigid, and so on. In the other hand, you have the simple software, but they just do one thing. Send email, do your accounting, project management with Trello or Asana, but nothing integrated. What you don't have is someone who do both. It says all you need, and they're going to be very easy and affordable.
Integration and cost.
Yes.
That's your mode.
Yes.
Okay. And your main TG is the MSMEs of India, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, talk to me about your marketing strategy. How do you market an ERP? Because it's such a difficult thing to communicate, like you just mentioned, because there are so many use cases and there are so many customers. It is hard to strike a balance between a message that appeals to a wider target audience and to be able to state what exactly is your differentiator. So what exactly is your approach towards marketing strategies?
First, our best marketing is word of mouth.
Best
Just
marketing
get
is word of
happy
mouth.
customer. This happy customer will bring more customer. So it's kind of a viral strategy. So the best marketing is actually no marketing. Just do a good product, a good service, good follow-up. It's the best you can do. After, you can do a little bit of marketing to help. The way we see marketing is, I'm against push logo. So we don't do sponsoring. We don't do a lot of ads in traditional media. It's just push logo because we want to focus on educating the users. It's not about us. It's about explaining how they can benefit from working differently. So we invest a lot in social media because you can educate. Education, we work with universities, schools, events. We organize free trainings all across India. Most of our events have 800 attendees. We do something like 80 events per year in India.
80 events.
Yes.
And all of these events are all about educating.
It's all about educating. We want to make it interesting. We want the participant to learn something. It's not about us. It's not. We don't want to say we are the best. That's boring. We just want them to learn something, to come back to their company and say, "Oh, we can work differently, and it's gonna be better."
How do you organize these events? Because on the outside, it looks like events are extremely costly. But Faisal just told me that you've been extremely successful with marketing your product through these events. So what is the marketing strategy behind organizing these events?
So it's a great way to educate. Free training sessions, demonstration of the product, it's great. It's not that costly if you do it right. If you do, for instance, we organize everything yourself. We do 80 events per year across India. And one of the main events we do is actually this month, August 23 and 24, 35,000 people. And we have 200 conferences, big party, DJ for 2 days, and everything's free. And for me, it's incredible. I mean, it's the second year we organized that in India. I've done the same in Belgium since 15 years.
Okay.
And this year in India, we're going to have more people than what we used to have in Belgium in the headquarters.
Really?
Yeah. So in 1 year, it became the biggest event of Odoo worldwide.
Wow. 35,000 people, and all of this is free.
All of this is free, and it's great. There is a mindset of community. It's not like the typical corporate event. I've done a few corporate events in India, and I find them very boring. It starts usually with a panel of people that congratulate themselves. Welcome this, welcome that. Thank you for this, thank you for that. It's not like that at all. We are more like the typical American event with a show where you see a lot of things, you learn a lot of things, you have demos of the product. All our demos are real time. No slides, no, just real things.
And as a brand, how do you use these events to empathize with your customers and tell them about your product?
Part of our marketing strategy is to convert our users into fans.
Okay.
Because for me, the best marketing you can get is word of mouth. If your users are happy, they will bring way more users and you get a viral loop. And so the events contribute a lot to that. All our customers, they come to the event because they want to learn the new feature of the new version, what else they can use to improve their company. And there is such a mindset and a collaboration in these events that they come back and say, wow, that was great, I had fun. And so we convert these users into fans of Odoo thanks to the events.
Interesting. So what you essentially do through these events is that you help a business owner increase their efficiency. You help them do better business. You educate them about doing better business. And Odoo just happens to be one of the instruments that you place in the event. Is that correct?
Yes. So for instance, for the Odoo Community Days, it's 2 days. During the 2 days, there is 200 conferences. Each 200 on every topic. Or you can boost marketing, or you can better recruit, or you can manage your inventory, or you can create a website, designer tutorial, marketing tutorials. 200 conferences in 2 days. So everyone gets things that he's interested in, and they get a lot of tips and tricks from here and there because they can choose the room they get to.
Interesting. And after these events happen, do you see a surge in the customers who onboard with Odoo?
Yeah, we doubled the partner network last year because of this event.
Really?
Yeah, we literally doubled in 2 months.
Okay.
2 months after the event. So it really helped converting the partner network. For me, it was very important because 1 year ago, it was the first time we organized this event. By the way, incredible. In 6 weeks, we organized this event and we get 12,000 registrations.
How many of these members were you able to onboard as customers?
It takes time, we are long live, so we don't know, but probably 20%, 30%.
Wow, that is crazy. So if somebody has to organize an event and use that event as a marketing strategy, what would be your guidebook for that particular company?
First, people that come to your event, they should learn something. It's not about you, it's about them. They should come back and they should be happy because they get some useful things that they can apply to their company to become better. Second, it's very community-based. You have to be open. For me, these events is like a big team building. Everyone participates, the whole company. So it's cool because once in a year, you have all the departments working together to organize the same thing. So it's the best team building you can get to do that.
Okay. What else?
I like to do everything ourselves. So you go to in Belgium, for instance, you go to the bar, it's Odoo employee. You go to the welcome desk, Odoo employee. You go to the DG night party, even the band, it's Odoo employee.
What?
Yeah, everything. The food we do, in Belgium we do it, not in India. We do food for a few thousand people, only Belgian employees. So imagine developer peeling potatoes for days because we cook lunch and dinner for 3 days. Everything homemade, super quality, but we do it ourselves. It's a huge team building. The fact that everyone contributes creates an atmosphere in the company that is so great.
Wow. So you're telling me that this is a team building exercise for you.
Yeah.
And it's also a marketing strategy for you.
They get the motivation of the year. I mean, all these customers coming in saying, your product is great, I love it, I learned something. Oh, you are the developer who developed that. For them, it's great for their motivation.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, and by the way, India impressed me on this event because last year it was the first time we organized this event. And I wanted to do one, but usually in Belgium we take 1 year to organize such a big event. And the team there told me, no, we'll do it we'll do it in 6 weeks. I was like, no, not possible.
6 weeks.
6 weeks. Because after it's summer, it's going to be too hot. We have to do it 6 weeks. I was like, no, not possible. We will never make it. And they did it in 6 weeks. They worked like crazy, the whole company. And we had 12,000 registration. Everyone's super happy in just 6 weeks. For me, it was like, this is India. It's like everything's possible.
That is so interesting. So while a lot of brands actually keep bragging about their features, they don't really educate people about their features. In fact, when it comes to your brand, it is impossible to just tell them about XYZ features, right? Because it's not very intuitive. You have to explain as to how a particular company can actually save a lot of time and revenue and increase your profits and efficiency by educating them. And when it comes to these events, so your marketing strategy is more about education-based marketing. Like, do not tell them about what we are, tell them about how they can use us to be able to save revenue. Is that correct?
Yeah, nobody asked for an electronic signature system platform. But when they see it, when they see the time they can save by signing electronically, they love it. Or nobody asks for online appointments. But when you understand that 50% of your agenda is about scheduling meeting, they are like, oh yeah, maybe we should do something about it.
True. I'm feeling the need for it because it resonates with you very well, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes a difference. Interesting. Fabien, you have been extremely bullish on YouTube, and I love it because we've got a consistent partner who's now deeply interested in understanding the nuances of the audience. And you guys have an art of communicating the brand message. And I remember every time Faisal talks to our team, there's this conversation about, oh, we want to highlight only this particular feature. And then you send us screenshots and screen recordings of that particular feature. And we craft the message in such a way that we are very particular about the messaging. And that is very, very interesting. And what I've also understood is that you are one of those brands which have generated exponential output merely through YouTube. And that makes you one of the most successful brands on YouTube. And while a lot of brands have failed to crack influencer marketing or social media marketing, you've been able to do it effortlessly. And the beauty is you're not even from India. And yet you've been able to do it. And this is something that also requires a deeper understanding of the audience. So my question is, what is your approach towards social media marketing? And how do you view YouTube and Instagram as marketing platforms?
So first, before that, in India, it's incredible. I was surprised myself of the result and the return on investment you can get in India. We've done that all around the world, and in India, it was just more than everything I would have expected.
Okay.
In terms of YouTube and Instagram, I'm probably biased because I don't use Instagram, so I prefer YouTube. Even though the CPM are much higher, we usually pay a CPM around $4 on Instagram, and on YouTube you can go to 10, 12 easily. The return we get from YouTube is way, way better.
Okay.
Especially because we have a product that needs to be explained. I think part of the success is the way we work. We don't want to promote ourselves. We don't want to talk about the company or whatever. We want to showcase the product. We want to showcase what the customer can benefit from what we do. So all our marketing is about the product, not about us as a company.
Interesting. So what exactly is so unique about what's your approach towards influencer marketing? Let's say you have a budget of, let's say, $1 million and you want to spend it throughout the year. What's your step-by-step process on how do you choose your creators and how do you craft your message?
First, I don't have budget.
Okay.
So the team is free to do whatever they want. They just should do high-quality content. We don't have very much constraints neither. When we work with a creator, we want them to express themselves. They know their audience. They know how to do a good content. So we rely on them to just go with the flow. We just expect them to understand what we do and to promote, obviously. But we don't have as much constraints as traditional brands have. Then we try to be useful. Just have a good content where we talk about the pain points, how you can save time. We like when people learn something. It's not about us, it's about them learning something. I think for me, the success, because the team, we have set it up a year ago. So everything we have done in India, it's been done in 1 year.
In a year?
Yeah, with 4 people in influencer marketing, only 4 people.
Okay.
The reason it worked is because they had full autonomy and responsibility. They could do whatever they want, and they transferred this autonomy to the creator. So creator likes to work with us because we are easy to work with. And because they had this autonomy, because they had no budget, because they have their own responsibility, they did an amazing job. It just gives them the power to be amazing.
That is so interesting. So you're saying that culture actually trickles down. from your employees to your partners
Yes.
and so on.
That's the way we work with every partner. We want everyone to work with us to feel like they are treated well, they are paid well, that we are a good partner in general. We want just to do good.
But this is something that I've seen with European culture in general. Like my uncles, they've been fascinated by European culture because they've been to the Netherlands. They worked in several European companies, and once they come back, what they often tell us is how European companies often strike a perfect balance between autonomy and results. Because more often than not, they don't go together. Because if you give somebody a lot of freedom, in India, it is often perceived as, oh, you know what, this guy might actually mess it up. So in order to standardize the output, restrictions come in, constraints come in, and that often results into compromise in results. So my question is, how do you strike a balance between liberty and results?
So first, you have to be perfectly aligned with your team. You can give a good autonomy, but they need to know where you want to go. So, for instance, I don't give budget to the marketing team, but they know exactly what are the big strategies. We talk about the product, not the company. We have a CPM-oriented strategy, not a budget strategy. So they know where we go so that they can follow the strategy. Second, you have to trust your people. And even if when you trust your people, you may have 10 to 20% that will fail or do something you don't like. But the rest, the 80% will usually do amazing, even in India. You know, it's true that in India, people have less autonomy. They are used to this very strict hierarchies in company with the manager is the boss and he has a big ego and so on. But still, even though it's a bit of the culture in India, willing to be autonomous and responsible is a universal mindset. Indians like to be autonomous too. So if you give them autonomy, they will produce good results.
Everybody likes to be autonomous, actually.
Yeah.
And this is something I'm deeply curious about because you mentioned autonomy. And what I find very strange is that Indians, when they go abroad, they give a lot of freedom to all their teammates. But if they're working in India, there's some bit of hierarchy that comes in. There's a lot of restriction that comes in. Now, this is not the case with Gen Z, by the way. Gen Z is like, we want autonomy, otherwise we're not working at all. Millennials, to some extent, they are a little flexible with having constraints, but when it comes to Gen X, they only have constraints. So we are actually seeing the rise of this autonomous culture in India, but this actually comes from Europe. Now, I don't understand what exactly is this cultural element that helps you be so autonomous.
I think autonomy alone does not work. You have to do it with strong leadership, guidance, education. You have to work with your team. If you see your team as a director and they will do everything, and you don't know the job or whatever, and you give them autonomy, it won't work. In order to make it work, you have to create a context. You need a context where people are well educated, aligned on what we want to do, with a good team spirit, when we all rely on each other. And when this context is set up, then it works well.
Could you help me explain this using an example where you gave complete autonomy to a particular person? You had certain KPIs, but because you never measured the KPIs, this person was able to deliver extraordinary returns.
Yeah, so it's every person actually. It's not only one, but let's make an example. You work with Faisal, who organized this podcast with you. You know, I recruited Faisal 1 year ago. So it's pretty new in the company, just started influencer marketing. And I just learned that he spent already 9 crore of budget. Can you imagine? Some new 1 year ago, 9 crore. And it has been really good. I mean, we have had super good return on investment, great collaborations, good content with creator. How could it be so good? Because everything is easy. When he negotiates, he can negotiate directly. He don't need to ask his manager, oh, can I validate that? Can I get this? He decides everything. So it's faster, it's smooth. And creator likes to work with him because he has the ability to say yes, no, directly. And he's not like, oh, I have to ask my manager, I have to approve this, and you will get some delays. So because he has this autonomy, he can perform better. Of course, it only works because I trust him and his team, because the team does this. And I trust him because we work together, we aligned ourselves on what we expect, what we don't expect, and he's good. So
I love working with them too.
yeah, you see the impact, huh? Working with someone who has autonomy and someone who doesn't have. I'm pretty sure you feel it on the phone when you negotiate, when you discuss about the content.
How do you build that culture from the start? Because let's say you're a small company. Now you're a big company, so you understand this very well. And now you also have a lot of liberty to fail in terms of the revenue that you generate and the profits that you generate and the funding that you've raised. But when it comes to a small company, how does a founder strike a balance between liberty and results?
It's at the beginning, it's easy. The culture is you. It's the way you behave with your first 10, 20 employees. You define the culture. You don't need to teach it. It's just because you work with them, you set up the culture. But as you grow, let's say you reach 200, 500 employees, the culture is not you anymore. It's the middle managers or the team leaders and so on. So there, you need to educate them, train them. So I wrote a book about the culture at Odoo.
You wrote a book?
Yes.
Okay.
It's called the Survival Guide for Odooers, to teach the team leaders and everyone below. And then we invest a lot in education. And we are super strict. If one of the team leaders is not aligned with the mindset, like he has too much ego or is not enough hands-on or he can make the team evolve, then we just replace it. So we are very strict with the culture.
Very interesting. So walk me through your recruitment process, because I believe that's where the foundation of culture is actually laid. Because if you have a person who's extremely authoritative, you can't have that person function in a company which requires the managers to be autonomous or requires managers to be more liberal. So my question is, what exactly is your hiring process? And I want to understand the most important values that you look for in your senior leaders, because of which you expect the culture to actually trickle down to the bottom of your organization. So what are the values that you look for in your senior leaders?
So great question. First, the only way to become a team leader at Odoo is to be the best of a team. We never recruit manager. We never recruit team leaders. The only way to become team leader, you enter from the bottom, get the best of the team, and then you become team leader. So that's where we ensure that every team leader is really, really good because he was the best of the team.
Okay.
The way I see the team leaders, I used to say team leaders, not managers, because they should not manage the team. They have no budget, no hiring objective, no reporting to do, no planning, nothing. I don't expect that from them. They are not managers. They are team leaders. The only thing I expect from them is to make the team evolve. I want to work them with their team and make them become better. Better developer, better salesman, better consultant, but that's the only thing I expect from a team leader. Make your team become better.
So you're telling me if there are 5 people in one team, the one who does the best goes on to become the team lead.
Yes.
And then amongst...
And his goal is to make the 5 others become better.
Okay. And then what is the next KPI? Like after they become leaders, what is the next KPI for them to rise up the ladder?
It's same. It's always the best who rise.
And you don't recruit from outside when it comes to senior leadership?
Never, ever.
Wow, that is pretty strange, man.
Yeah, and that's, in a way, one of the best way to keep the culture.
But what if, okay, I'm just putting in a scenario right now, but what if one of the senior leaders leaves or there is a dearth of senior leaders, then you would want to hire from outside?
I will do an internal promotion.
Interesting. So can you tell me, because I've heard this from a lot of my friends, that they just hate people who come from outside and take up those positions that they aspire to have. Because when they join the organization, they say that, oh, you know what, this is the position that I want to be in. And 2 to 3 years down the line, when they're just about to get into that designation, there's somebody else who's hired from outside. And because of this, there is a little bit of conflict within the organization, and that's where the distaste pops in. As a result, this toxic corporate culture evolves. So having built such a large organization, what do you see is the benefit and the risk of recruiting from within the organization?
The main benefit is the culture. You promote the culture because you have no risk of getting someone external with a different mindset.
Okay.
Perfectly aligned, because there are a lot of managers who, after 15, 20 years, they can manage people, but they can't do the job anymore. When you do internal promotion, the ones you promote are the ones who actually do the job. They were the best of the team. So you are sure that they will have something to teach the team. They will make them evolve. If you have a manager who do planning, budget, strategy, and all the things, you are not sure that the team will become better because of him. So I only see benefits in that. Okay. Sometimes it's good to have, I believe, external recruitment, but I feel it's very risky. Even though it could work sometimes, if you get someone from external as a management position, if you make the wrong pick, it could be very destructive for the company.
Have you ever experienced it?
I did it a few times, 3 or 4 times, which is not a lot for 4,500 people. One was a super successful VP of sales. He was really good. He built 2 startups, grew the startup to 500 people. I don't remember the exact number, but on the paper, he was super good. And it didn't work for us. It's the only time where we failed with a sales manager, mostly because he was not aligned with the culture. He was selling good, but just selling like crazy, just for the purpose of selling. He didn't master the product. He was not doing in the good for the clients and that kind of thing. So it didn't work for us. The only time I failed with a sales manager is when I recruited someone external.
Okay, so you're saying that this person has to be the best in the team. Number two, this person should have the skill sets to go hands-on. What else? What else do you check in an interview?
Or usually, you don't even need to promote team leaders. You don't even need to check KPIs. Just ask the team. Most of the time, the teams know who's the best. It's the guy they refer to when they have a problem. Most of the time, he's already acting as a leader, already in the team. So you don't need to interview for them and so on.
So another attribute that stands out is reliance, right? Reliance and dependability.
Yeah. Usually they are already the team leader before you promote them, because people like to work with him, ask him when they have an issue. So it's like the team choose him even before we promote him.
But why do you think other organizations are not able to mimic this? Because when you're talking about this entire system, it seems pretty idealistic. But why do you think other organizations are not able to scale? Because 4,500 people, that's a lot.
Yeah, in order to do that, you have to take some risk. Because one of the risks would be you only have young people, because you have to start from the bottom.
Okay.
So in order to kill that, what we do, we recruit people at the right salary. So if someone has 20 years experience managing people, we will pay this salary, but he will do the job of the team. And that's something most companies don't understand, because in a year he's going to be team leader if it's that good. And if you don't do that with a strategy where you only have internal promotion, you will never have this guy.
Hold on. So are you telling me that, let's say you're recruiting for a position, let's say that position is that of a director. So you would pay him the salary of a director, but get him to do the job of...
It's more based on the experience. If you have 20 years experience, I will pay you 10 years experience,
Okay.
whatever your job.
But you'll get that person to do the job of...
Of a salesperson or a developer, and if you are not willing to do that, it's probably because you don't fit with Odoo.
Oh, wow. That is such an amazing competency check.
So one of the things that I like in this system is that, when you start as a developer and you are really good developers, and after 3 years, what traditional companies do is say, okay, now you become manager. You don't develop anymore. And the developer will be happy. Good, promotion, more salary, happy. But after 2 years, he will find it very boring. Because what he likes to do is to develop. It's not to manage people and things like that. So after a few years on the job, and maybe he won't be efficient. He was a really good developer, but not a good manager. So the way we work at Odoo is to say your salary is based on your experience, not on your position. So if you are a team leader, a director, or a developer, if all have the same experience, like 10 years experience, they will get the same salary.
But Fabien, tell me something. When you incentivize people on the basis of their experience, how do you motivate them to grow? Because I'll give you a very simple example. Let's say I joined the organization today, and within 2 years, I have learned and I've grown so much that I know more than a person who has an experience of 5 years, because that person has become stagnant with his education and growth. So when this happens, another conflict arises, which is, although I have 2 years of experience, I know more than that guy. I can work better than that guy. My contributions to the organization are much more than what that guy is doing. Then why am I not getting paid as much as that guy?
So the way we compute our salary grid is actually we have 2 dimensions. One is the experience. So every year you get more because you are more experienced. And one is the capability on the job. Meet expectation, above expectation, strongly exceed expectation. And one is the ranking. And so it's based on these 2 KPI that we decide the salary. So someone can grow in terms of performance, exceed expectation, but they can do that even without managing people. I think the most paid developer in the company, he managed 0 people. He's just the smartest guy. He fixes all the problems very quickly, he knows everything. But because he's good, every year I do his appraisal. And every year he tells me, I don't want to manage people. I like intellectual challenge. I want to solve. I like to develop. I just don't want to manage people. But he's so good that he is the most paid developer in the company.
You started your organization. How did you recruit the first 5 to 10 people in the organization?
Very badly. It's very hard to recruit. We all do mistakes. And if you don't have the experience, it's going to be even harder.
True.
It's super hard. And so when I started, I wanted to recruit people who were cheap. I didn't have money. I started from nothing. So I get people, they were cheap, but I got what I paid for. And so it took time to find the right way to recruit, but it's not easy. And even today, after having recruited 1,000 people, the person who says, I can tell you right away if it's going to be a good candidate or not, I think he doesn't understand recruitment. It's impossible. So it's very hard to recruit correctly.
What are the biggest mistakes that you've made with recruitment?
Based on recruit based on resume, soft skills, and everything. Now, what I do, the thing that work the most is to just make them do the job and judge on the job. If it's a developer, make him develop. If it's a salesperson, make him do a demo, phone call, and you learn so much by working with him a little bit that it's more valuable than all the discussions you can have with them.
Very interesting. Now, when you speak about your organization and when you speak about the problems that these people are solving, they seem like very difficult problems to solve and they require a certain level of expertise. But somehow, again, something that doesn't add up, your organization is actually situated in Gandhinagar, right? It doesn't add up. Like, you could have been in Mumbai, you could have been in Bangalore. Why Gandhinagar?
Oh, so when you create a company, the most important success, the thing that's going to be the success of the company, it's not where you locate the company.
Really?
No, it's the founder of the company. The founder of the company, when you create a subsidiary, is way more important than the location. If you're the right founder, you will succeed.
Help me understand this better.
So when I started in India, I met a guy who was really good, Mantavya, who's our director today. And I created the company for him because I wanted to work with him. And choosing the right person is more important than choosing the right city. And this guy lived in Gandhinagar. So he didn't want to move. He just lived there with his parents. He was a student at the time. So I said, yeah, let's create a company in Gandhinagar. What matters to me is Mantavya Gajar, not Gandhinagar or Mumbai or whatever. And since then, I've created 18 different offices. I always follow the same rule. The person is more important than the city.
But how did you find great talent in Gandhinagar? Because I'll give you a very simple example, okay? There are people in Bangalore, there are people in Mumbai, and they have a certain kind of lifestyle. Or when people move from other cities to Mumbai or Bangalore, they aspire to have a certain kind of lifestyle. But when you say Gandhinagar, people don't expect a great lifestyle. As a result, they may not be incentivized to join a company even though the company is great or even though you're paying them higher. So my question is, how do you strike a balance and make sure that you get the right talent without actually compromising on, without actually losing out on great talent?
So first, I think it's easier. It's easier because the competition on the market is way lower. You don't have a lot of big IT companies. There are plenty of talent, great universities, but the demand from companies are much lower than what you could get in Mumbai or Delhi or Bangalore.
In Gandhinagar, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And so in a way, it's much easier to retain and to recruit employees. And the cost of living is way lower. So if you pay them very well, they actually have a better lifestyle than what they could have in Mumbai or Delhi with the same salary. Renting is close to double compared to Gandhinagar.
More than double, actually.
Yeah.
Because we have an office in Pune. In Pune, what you would get for 40,000 rupees, you will have to pay minimum 2 lakh rupees here in Mumbai. So it doesn't make any economic sense at all. And what we often forget is that when you move from one city to the other, it's not just the increased cost of living, it's also the degradation of the standard of living. Even though the cost is increasing, the standard may not necessarily increase. But that's Pune and Mumbai, Fabien. Here you're talking about Mumbai and Gandhinagar. So again, I'm finding it hard to contemplate as to how did you retain great talent, how did you attract great talent, and how did you build a company that is so successful in India?
Well, for me, it's much easier to pay more in Gandhinagar than paying more than the average in Mumbai. In Gandhinagar, I can pay way more than the average of the state, and it's still a good salary. And with that, what they get, they can live a much better life than what they could have here, bigger apartment and everything. So for me, it's great. And I like the entrepreneur mindset that you have in Gujarat. That's the entrepreneur in me talking, but...
What do you find so fascinating about Gujarat's entrepreneurship culture?
I can't compare with Mumbai and Delhi because I don't have experience, but I can compare with Europe.
Okay.
When you go to a bookstore in Europe, all the books are fiction book, maybe a kid's book, comics or whatever, but nothing about entrepreneurship.
Really?
Yeah, really. And in Gujarat, when I go to a bookstore, it's like 50% of the books are about learning something, entrepreneurship. I'm like, wow, I love this culture.
Yeah. So why do you say that Europe does not have a very strong entrepreneurial culture? Because you also mentioned before the podcast that Europe does not have a lot of business podcasts, a lot of big business podcasts. Why is that?
It's hard. First, the market is very small. You know, I'm from Belgium. Belgium is 11 million people. Nothing. So your market is really small. Belgium is split it in two, French and Dutch speaking people. French speaking people, 6 million of people. What can you do with 6 million people? It's less than Ahmedabad. So it's very hard because your market is small. And then you have to expand. But to expand, you have to speak 14 different languages. And then you don't have money because the market is small. You don't have big investor. You don't have capabilities to grow easily. And then you have heavy taxes.
Heavy taxes.
Yes. When the company cost, when I pay an employee, he get in net 30-35% of what the company pays.
Sorry, what? Can you repeat that?
So the taxes on salary is around 70%.
70%?
Yes.
70%
Between the
taxes.
company cost and what the employee has in his pocket, it's close to 70-65%. It's super expensive. And so it's because of that, it's extremely difficult to be an entrepreneur, to recruit your first employee. It's very risky as opposed to just go and work as an employee in a company.
But if you're a part of the European Union, you get much wider market access, right? Doesn't that help?
No, every country is different. They speak different languages. They have different accounting software. It's super complex, especially for us as an accounting software. It's difficult.
You know, this is what reminds me of UK and Brexit. Because when UK was a part of the European Union, they had all the privileges of being a part of the European Union. They got access to labor, they had a much wider market access and so on and so forth. But the one mistake that they made is with services. They became more service dependent rather than manufacturing dependent. 81% of UK's GDP actually comes from services. And when you tell me about languages and geography and culture, it also reminds me about why is it extremely important to be more manufacturing driven rather than service driven? Because when it comes to a service industry, you have to connect with the people, you have to connect with the culture, you have to speak the language to be able to expand your company. But when it comes to manufacturing, let's say if you manufacture razor, it doesn't really matter whether this person speaks French or this person speaks any other language. It's much easier to sell because it's the product that matters and not the human connection. It's the brand's connection with the people and not human to human connection. Does that also make it very difficult to scale a service company in Europe?
Yes, of course. And for us as a software for companies, every accounting software is different. Every country has its own set of rules. Payroll, every country has its own. So you do Belgium, you have 11 millions of people. Then you have to go to France, 60 millions of people. Then you have to go to Spain. And after you go, just for very small markets, you have to develop a lot of different products.
So you have to develop different products for different markets.
Different languages, different features, yeah. So it's very hard to grow as opposed to Americans where they have the huge markets right away, or Indians, you are big market right away. It's way more difficult in Europe. So one of the things we try to do when we are European is just to export quickly on a faster growing market.
Interesting. So what do the people of Europe aspire to have? Like over here, obviously in India, the aspiration is all about, going to a good school, having a great house and so on and so forth. But what do Europeans actually aspire for? Because life is extremely comfortable in Europe, right?
Yes.
So what is the aspiration about?
I think people are losing aspiration. It's
People
are losing aspiration.
Losing aspiration.
Yeah, in Europe, it's one of the big problems. We have a lot of burnout, long-term sick leaves, because people have been so much comfortable over the past decade that now they are not used to a difficult life. And life is difficult. You have ups and downs. You may have issues with your family. You may have a problem with your job. And Europeans are not prepared to that. The quality of life is at the top. That now we suffer from other things.
You mentioned about long-term sickness, and yesterday I was reading about UK's economic crisis, and one of the fundamental reasons why UK is facing such a big labor shortage is because people are retiring from the workforce not because they've reached 60, but because they're suffering from long-term sickness. I couldn't really understand what that meant. Over here, everybody believes that if you have a comfortable life will get better. But you are telling me that because life got comfortable in Europe, people are getting sick.
Yeah. To understand that, you have to understand that happiness is not what you have. Happiness is how you evolve. So if you are here and you grow, you will be happy. If you are there and you decrease, you won't be happy at all. And that's one of the issues with Europe. We are at the top in terms of quality. And so people now are not prepared for things that are tough in the life. And life is not easy. For everyone, you may have ups and downs. And so we have a lot of burnout. Burnout is a mental sickness. So you can't work anymore because you don't have. It's mental, but it could be physical too. Because of that, we are so used to a comfortable life that we are less resilient when needed. And also, because Europe offers so much benefits, some people abuse from sickness.
Some people are.
Abuse from that. So, for instance, if you don't have a job, you still have a salary. It's called chômage. So some people say, why should I work? I get a salary and I have the chômage, or when you are sick, you are paid by the company or by the government. So it's not a big deal. So you can easily be sick.
So you're saying that the motivation to work is going away.
The motivation to work is decreasing, not to everyone, but to some people. And people are less resilient to the difficulty of life.
What do you mean by difficulty of life? Because when everything is comfortable, you don't have any difficulties, right?
No. It's comfortable in a way that you have a house, you have a healthcare, and so on. But you still have family issues. You still may have a boss that you don't like. You still may have issues with your friend. You still can break your body or whatever. So there will be issues. It's just that because every time it has been comfortable, you are not ready to fight for these issues. Where Indians, for instance, they fight for everything, sometimes just for food. So they are way more resilient to the difficulty of they may face later on.
Interesting. And how does that affect the work culture? As a business, how do you get affected because of the comfortable life?
Most people in India, they work because they need to. In Europe, they don't really need to. So they work because they like to, they are passionate. But the thing is, not all the job or not everything you do is passionate. There are things you just have, even in my job. My job is super cool, I love it, but there are things I don't like to do. It's normal. I don't like to do slides, I don't like to do meetings, but I have to do it.
You don't like to do paperwork also.
And so you can build something based on passion, but it has its limits. There will be things you don't like to do, and so if your only motivation is the fact that you like the job, it's more difficult.
Fabien, now I want to throw light on the market and see where exactly does Odoo fit in the market as compared to other players like Zoho and Microsoft. So who exactly is the closest competitor that you have?
It depends. For the large companies, we compete with SAP.
Okay.
For the small and mid-size, we compete with Excel, spreadsheet. They have nothing.
Compete with Excel?
Yeah, go in the street. Nobody uses anything. They have no tool, no nothing. They do everything manually. There are a lot of Excel. We do have competition from Zoho and other players like that. But it's the majority of the clients, they just have nothing.
And how are you different from Zoho?
So the difference is that we do have all the applications. Zoho has plenty of applications too. But ours are fully integrated. So let's say you use inventory plus sales plus invoicing and manufacturing. Everything goes together. You do a quotation, becomes a sale order, triggers some inventory needs. You deliver the clients and then you invoice the clients, and everything is smoothly integrated. Whereas Zoho, it's not like that because it's different applications.
Can you help me understand this with an example?
Okay, let's stay in the marketing. When you send an email with Odoo, you send a mass mail, hundreds of thousands of people. Odoo will tell you the revenue of this email. It will tell you get $50,000 because of this email.
Really?
Yeah. And how do we do that? It's super complex because you need the email marketing. Send an email. Then there is a link. On the link, people go to the website. But the website is also done on Odoo because we have also Odoo Website Builder. From the website, they fill a form. Goes to the CRM, opportunities management, pipeline management for the salespeople. And then 1 month later, a salesperson do a quotation with an offer for the client. Then this quotation becomes an invoice. And if you don't use Odoo, you have 5 different software. You don't have the link between the email I sent, how much revenue they generate. The best you can do is click-through rate, which is shitty. You want revenue through rate.
Correct.
And when you use Odoo, because everything is integrated, you get so much power from every feature. That's just for sending email, but imagine you have that on everything in the company.
True. That is very, very powerful, because if I can understand that this email made me $50,000, on the outside, it looks like, oh, this is just one statement, but it is a result of multiple integrations together, and integrations are very, very powerful.
And then you get better feedback. You can improve your emails. If you don't have the right metric, like if you fine-tune your emails based on click-through rate, just do bigger buttons and people will click more. But it's not because you do bigger buttons that you will sell more. So it's important to have the full loop.
Do you have a case study where a business has used these integrations to be able to increase their revenue or improve efficiency?
Yeah, there's plenty. Improve efficiency, we usually have easily 30-40% efficiency more.
Okay.
And that usually translates into more business. Because if people are free to do less administrative tasks, less reporting, more access to the data, they can focus on things that matter for the company, and then you get more revenues because you focus. It also helps to fix all your bottlenecks. You know, when you grow a company, the key is to fix all your bottlenecks. You want everything to be smooth so that the company can grow very fast. In most companies, people are like, oh, I have difficulties to recruit. And when you ask them, what do you do? They do nothing. They have nothing to recruit. Oh, I don't have enough leads. What do you do? Oh, I do some emails, maybe some ads. That's it. And most of the people, they don't do things to fix their bottleneck because they don't know where to start. If you don't have leads, you can do lead nurturing. You can integrate with WhatsApp, email, SMS. You can organize events. You can send email marketing. You can do referral program for your clients so that they bring new clients. But all of those, they require tools. If you don't have an application like Odoo that gives you all these tools for free, what do? You have to purchase different software, integrate them. It becomes very complex.
Correct. And do you have like an example, like a star example to help me understand how these integrations have helped the company?
Oh, everywhere. For accounting, we usually see a 50% time saving because you don't need to record the data. With artificial intelligence, you just send all your vendor bills and it detects everything.
From the bill itself?
From the bill itself, for artificial intelligence, we detect everything. We have 98% recognition rate, so you only have to check 2%. And then we connect with the bank, so your statements appears automatically. You don't need to record your statements. And then artificial intelligence match both. So the full process is more or less automated, so they save 50% of their time. For HR, we talked about it. Recruitment, we save 50%. And we have plenty of apps to help them boost their business. Like a good referral program. Employee refers other employee. They get a bonus because of that and that kind of things. These are standard apps in Odoo.
Interesting. So you're telling me that integrations are far, far powerful because it will help you track multiple tasks in such a way that it helps an organization gain better insights. Like the example of email that you just gave me, which is there is no connect. There's a deep disconnect between marketing and revenue generation. But if you can directly correlate marketing with revenue generation and understand which one of your marketing strategies is paying off, then you can optimize for your marketing strategy in such a way that you can then dictate $1 million spend on marketing effectively, which will then help you generate more revenue. Yeah. Is that correct?
Yes. I'll give you another example. When I arrived in India a few months ago, we were organizing event all around India. But it didn't work that well. We had like 50 attendees per event, not that good. So I started to do marketing. I started to launch ads, influencer marketing, and was super happy. I saw like 500 registration to the event. I was like, hey guys, I'm the king. I get 500 registration. We get to the next level. And then 75 people show up at the event. Big no-show. And why? Because our follow-ups were not good. So what did I do? I automated follow-ups. When someone registers, he get a few, 2-3 emails before to remind him. Didn't work that well. Then what I did, I installed Odoo WhatsApp. Odoo WhatsApp send reminder through WhatsApp to the people the day before the event so that they come. And boom, our events increased to 300 people.
300 people?
Yeah,
wow.
If you don't have, now we are much more, but at the time. So if you don't have the tools to automate all your pain points like this, you stay with events that doesn't work well. But when you have all these tools provided by Odoo to automate emails, to automate WhatsApp, to organize events, things get much easier and you can really scale the market.
So your mode is basically integration.
Yes. And because all of those tools are accessible, you don't need to ask a developer to do something, to make a code. You just install an app, one click. We don't charge per app, so it's free, and you can go with it.
How's this freemium model working out for you?
So the way it works is first Odoo is open source. You can download it for free, modify, test it for 80% of the application. And we have 20% of apps that are for a fee. But in addition to that, we also have a great offer, which is one app is free. Whatever you need. You need an accounting software, free.
Okay.
And it's free hosting, free support, free service, everything included. No hidden cost, no nothing, forever for unlimited users. So you need a website, free. You need an accounting, free. You need inventory management, free. You marketing apps, free. You need to electronic signature to sign your contract, free. We charge only if you need multiple applications. Okay. And if you need multiple applications, the price is 580 rupees, and you get all these apps for this price per month.
All the apps?
All the apps for 580 rupees per month.
580 rupees a month?
Yes, and you get all the apps.
But how are you so cheap? How are you so affordable?
Because we have 12 millions of users. So we compensate with very big volumes.
Scale.
Yes.
But and what is the cost of Zoho comparatively?
So Zoho One is 3 times the price,
Okay.
but they barely have 50% of our apps. Huh? They don't have manufacturing, they don't have our marketing apps, they don't have a website builder the way we have. So it's not the same, it's not comparable.
But how is it that you are able to build a company which is so affordable in terms of its subscription as compared to a large company like Zoho, which is 3 times costlier?
It took me 20 years because in order to get to that level, you need a big volume. What really helped us is the open source community. We have a huge community of open source, and because it's free open source, people download and test and so on. And they develop new features too. So we have a community of 200,000 full-time developers working on Odoo, working for our part. So these guys, they produce a lot of applications and features that we can integrate in the product. So in addition to all our apps, we also have the biggest app store in the world for businesses. We have 50,000 applications. So whatever you need, we have an app for that.
Fabien, what exactly is the conversion rate between the people who just get that free app versus people who actually pay for it?
Oh, it's quite low. It's 10%.
30%.
10.
10%.
Yes. The reason is that our free app is a really good offer. Let's say you start with the website builder. You need a website or an e-commerce. You want to sell online. The free app includes everything. Hosting, payment, even your domain name. We offer the domain name for free. Nobody does that. And there is no ads, nothing. So when you get that, you can live with that for a long time and you don't need more. They only buy more when they start to really implement the whole company and say, okay, I will connect that with my inventory, connect that with my accounting. And so that's 10% of the company.
But if there's a business owner who's not very proficient with tech, can he still onboard himself very easily?
Yeah, it's super easy. You start with a free trial. You start online, odoo.com, and right away, in 1 minute, you get access, and it's done in a way that it's super efficient. I mean, in order to get to 12 millions of users, you have to be super easy. You cannot do that if your software needs to be explained and taught and everything. It has to be really, really easy. So we spend a lot of time working on usability.
Fabien, while I was having a conversation with Faisal, he told me something very interesting. When I look at an all-in-one business management software, the customer persona that comes to my mind is a CEO wearing a suit,
complex,
sitting in a fancy office, and then he runs $1 million company, and then he's using Odoo to turn his processes into more efficient processes. But what Faisal told me is that there is also a bookseller in Gandhinagar who's using Odoo to be more efficient.
Yeah, Odoo is for small businesses. So it's Deepak. It's the owner of this bookstore in Gandhinagar. Picture this: no roof, no electricity, just tables, 6,000 books on this table because the guy is a great entrepreneur. He knows how to use the space. He ran the 10 tables and he put a lot of books. No electricity, no laptop, no computer. It's the typical Indian business. You go on the street, that's what you see everywhere. By the way, I love his bookstore. I buy all my books there.
Okay.
And he has Odoo on his mobile phone. So when he receives new books, just pick his mobile phone, scan, boom, all the books are created. The books already available on the website. So he sells online. Can be synchronized with Amazon, eBay. He has nothing to do. Okay. And then when you shop a book in his store, picks his mobile phone, scan. What's your WhatsApp number? One click, and you receive the receipt on WhatsApp. And so he has all this business fully automated with no electricity on the booth, on the store. And you know what? This guy, the small bookstore with no roof, no electricity, is more organized than the most European or American business selling books. Because he has the full power of Odoo on his mobile. For instance, let's say you like comics and you get the number 7 of a specific comic you like. When the number 8 arrives in the bookstore, you receive a WhatsApp message.
What?
Hey, you like the 7? Do you want the 8? Because we have WhatsApp automation integrated in Odoo.
So are you telling me that if there is a comic book version that you buy, let's say you buy the 7th edition, if the 8th edition comes in, the customer will get a notification from that bookseller?
Yeah, because Odoo automates that. You get emails, WhatsApp, SMS. He has all the marketing power of the full application suite of Odoo on his mobile phone. Wow. He has a laptop. When he's home, he doesn't have a laptop, but on his bookstore, he doesn't need.
That is so amazing, man.
And for me, that is India. I mean, when you succeed that, it's like, okay, I understood that. And what I really loved about this story is that we had to improve Odoo for him. because initially we wanted to record these books. How do you record 6,000 books? I mean, you have to take a photo, write the description. It takes too long time. So we made a system where I scan the book and the product form is created automatically, nothing to do, so that I can do it on this mobile. Then I came back to Europe, and one of my friends, he has a toy store. And I arrived to my friend, he has a pallet with lots of toys, and I was asking, what is this pallet there? Oh, it's telling, it's all the new toys we received. We didn't have time to record them. I took my mobile, well, let me show you. Scan, 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 scan. And this is automated now.
So you used the feature that you developed using the use case of an Indian bookseller on the street.
Now it's a key feature in Europe. Everyone wants that.
Wow. So now you make millions of dollars in Europe.
Because of this feedback from India.
Interesting. Wow. So, and this also draws out a very important lesson that you have to design for extremities. If you design for extremities, then automatically you end up pushing the boundaries of great design and great product, right?
Yeah, it's the mass market. The real mass market of India is all the small and mid-sized companies. All the small companies, it's a huge, huge market. It's a very difficult market. I mean, these guys have a lot of complexity. They cannot afford a lot. It has to be extremely simple. But if you succeed to satisfy them, then your product is super good.
So you're saying that the true testament of a business management software is when they can build a software which is easy to use for a street vendor and is affordable enough for a street vendor.
580 rupees. He can afford that. He has 6 stores. He pays only one user because he shared the account, but I'm fine with it. And, we have customers like Toyota, Danone, Air India. We have plenty of big customers, KPMG. The one I'm proud of is the bookstore in the street.
Wow, that is very sweet, man. Very interesting. So, Fabien, I've learned so many things in this entire episode. So, if I were to just summarize this entire thing, what I understood is that Odoo is a billion-dollar company that was built on the foundations of sharp observations. And the one observation that you made, a few observations, in fact, that you made were about people in multiple organizations not being efficient because they were more focused on things that were not primary, like scheduling meetings, as compared to the things that they're supposed to be focused on, which are the primary tasks like talking to people, recruiting people, or doing tasks like accounting and so on and so forth. And on the basis of this observation, you built a product that can turn this person into a more efficient person. Now, even though there were large competitors like SAP and Zoho, you were still able to find a space for yourself in the market because you cater to those people who never ever used a business management software. Like you mentioned that your real competitor when it comes to the small business space, it's not SAP or Zoho or Microsoft, it's actually Excel because they don't use a business management software at all. From there onwards, you have two major instruments that build a barrier to entry in this entire ecosystem for yourself, which are integrations as well as cost. Cost comes down because of open source community, and integration happens because you want to make sure that you build a system that can give you exponential result for the same task that they're doing, and that comes because of integration. An example of the same was you sending emails using an email management software versus you tracking the revenue that you've generated through that email. Usually they're two different softwares, but then once you combine them, you're able to actually track which campaign was more efficient as compared to the other. Then you can double down on that campaign, eventually generate more revenue. You can actually understand all of these things without having a person to manage multiple softwares. You don't have to pay for multiple subscriptions. And that's what gives you this insane advantage of having smooth operation across different functions because you have an all-in-one business management software. Then what I understood is that your entire ecosystem, whether that's open source, whether that's the business community, whether that's the community days event for that matter, all of these things are based on one very, very powerful emotion, which is empathy. And what I found deeply fascinating about your venture is that you were able to empathize with everybody, starting from the street vendor who's selling books to a multi-billion-dollar company like Airbus. Airbus is also one of your clients, right? And one of the reasons why you've been able to build all of this is the company culture that you have. And what I learned about this culture is that it is a perfect balance of autonomy and results. And somehow it's so counterintuitive to think that results come as a result of autonomy. And while most people fear giving too much freedom, the way you build a system for scale in spite of freedom is that you recruit from within the organization, you promote from within the organization, you look for the best people in the company who abide by values, and then you promote them. And when it comes to the definition of best, your definition of best is great at work, should be hands-on, and more importantly, they should be a person that people can rely on. So great skills, hands-on experience, as well as empathy, reliance, and leadership. This enables you to build an organization that doesn't just work with freedom, but also generates great results. And when it comes to your marketing campaign, what I understood is that you are extremely bullish on YouTube because you want to have a conversation with the audience. You can't just remind people about Odoo. You have to educate them about Odoo. And here's what I understood about Odoo Community Days, which comes in as an education event, which is extremely entertaining as compared to other boring corporate events. And you use education as a powerful marketing instrument to place Odoo in a context by which business owners understand how to use Odoo, business owners understand the benefit of using Odoo, and because of that relationship that they've built with you, they eventually onboard as customers. One thing that I found really fascinating is also the proposition that you have, which has worked wonders when it comes to influencer marketing also, which is something that you've executed with us, which is one free tool. If somebody uses one free tool, they get a hang of the software, they're able to understand your impact, which then helps people use other softwares together, and that integration, because you already have it, it gives you another advantage. And the last thing that I understood is that the most powerful thing that has built your company is the foundations which enables developers to build tools faster, which is something that the incumbents face a problem with because the foundations have been built 20 to 30 years ago and it was practically impossible to develop for the modern day. All of this put together, Odoo is not just a business management tool, it is an empowerment tool for the small businesses of India, which is fulfilling the Indian dream to become the most powerful economy in the world. Does that sum up our conversation?
What a summary. Really good.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
it's true.
Thank you so much, Fabien. It was a pleasure talking to you. And I just love your brand. I love your products. And I really hope that with this entire conversation, there is a message that goes out there that India is a place to be. And I'm so happy to know such amazing and sweet stories from you about India. You know, I love my country too much. And when I hear it from somebody who's come all the way from Belgium to India and tells me beautiful stories about India, you know, I couldn't be
I love your
any
country
happier.
too.
Thank you so much, Fabien. It's been a pleasure.